In this video, I'm going to show you how to add effects, automation, and fades to your tracks. Let's start with fades. Adding fades in Soundtrap is actually pretty easy. All you need to do is hover your mouse over an audio or a MIDI clip, and these fade handles pop up at the top. They look like little circles. You can drag in at the beginning and at the end to add a fade in and a fade out. Let's take a listen to how that sounds. I'm going to solo this flag pad track. Just that simple. Let's talk next about automation. Automation is when you make something happen automatically in a track. You can show and hide track automation by clicking on this funky little graph icon. When this pops up, you will see the volume automation for this bus ride China track. Now this is a sound effect of a bus ride in China. Just what it sounds like. When we get to this part right here, you'll notice the volume jump up a lot. And then it's going to jump back down after that. All right, now these little dots are called breakpoints, and they're easy to make. You simply click once on the automation line, and then you can click and drag them however you want. You can move them in time, and you can move them up and down for a greater or lesser value. Now you can automate lots and lots of things. You can automate volume, panning, and any effect parameter. But the most common thing to automate is volume. Now to get rid of these, I'm simply going to click delete, and they go away. Volume automation is a great way to highlight certain elements of your track at certain times. For instance, this bus ride China, I want it to be in kind of the background most of the time, but then when this new section comes in, I want it to be louder so it glues the track together more. Let's take a listen to it. And now all of a sudden, the bus ride is a much more focal element. All right, let's talk about effects next. Let's go with these drums here. And I'm going to click on the track header icon. In this case, it's an audio track, so there are waves there. And there are spots to add effects. If I click on Add Effect, we get a library of effects, and they're color-coded. Here are guitar pedal type effects for distortion, fuzz, and overdrive. There are modulation effects such as auto pan, auto wah, chorus, flanger, phaser, etc. There are time and stereo-based effects like delay, room, which is basically reverb, slapback, a stereo delay, and this thing that claims to be a 3D panner. Finally, there are filters and compressors down here. And if you don't know what filters and compressors are, that's okay. You don't have to know any of this stuff to start playing around with it. So let's just add a compressor 1. It's got a single knob, pretty easy to use. Let's see how it affects the drum track. I'm going to solo it and listen to it. In this case, it makes the drums sound worse. I'm going to dial it back. A little bit of compression goes a long way on these drums. I can turn this effect off to hear the difference. And a compressor just reduces the dynamic range of audio so that the louds and softs are closer together, with the end goal being that it would be louder at the end. I don't like this compressor, so I'm going to remove it by clicking the X. Instead, I'm going to try a different effect. How about room? And I'm just going to give the drums a touch of reverb to kind of help them blend into the background of the track a little more. That sounds pretty good. If I click on this arrow, we can choose some different algorithms, such as wide room. Immediately you can hear the kick drum jump out a lot more, in not a totally positive way. I'm going to stick to medium room for now. If I wanted to add another effect, I could do that But for the drums, I'm going to stick with just a touch of reverb. Let's go down here to the bass guitar. And I'm going to solo that. And I'm going to enable my loop play so that I don't need to keep moving the cursor around. So I'm going to click on the bass. And in this case, since the effects are already up, it just took me straight to them. Let me move that down. And that's a pretty good sounding, you know, plain ordinary bass. What if I put some distortion on it? Oh yeah, there you go. And we have two knobs here. One is tone. It's sort of like an EQ, a treble, bass, kind of dull, shiny sound. And then a level of distortion. Now you got to be careful when you add these effects because it will affect the volume level. So if you add a lot of distortion, you may need to bring down the track volume level to compensate. Let's see how that sounds with the drums. I can A/B the track by turning the effect on and off to see how it affects the sound. Maybe a little too much distortion. Now you may also notice that there is a basic amp setup here because that's what a bass would have. And so there are extra effects here. There's some bass and treble controls, a built-in reverb, panning, and volume. So you can also mess around with those. So now you know how to add automation, fades, and effects to your tracks. Remember to add that effect, click the track header icon to go to the effects tab.